Okay, so today I want to talk about the evolution, not only the evolution of the horse, but also the evolution of our relationship with our horses and that dynamic. Because I think it's a really important point of reference of how things move and how things change and how things develop. And of course, as always, there is a purpose. And today's purpose is to explore the journey of that horse-human connection from survival and utility to partnership and mutual understanding. So from taking where the horse-human relationship began, which was very much as a tool, whether that was war or ploughing the land, to what we have now, which is a family member, to describe it in one way. And what I'd like to do with this presentation is to inspire you to reflect on how your relationship with your horse fits into this evolutionary narrative. So, as always, I love a little quote. In the presence of a horse, we find the reflection of who we are and the possibility of who we can become. So we're going to dive into this topic that underpins everything we do. And that is the bond and connection between humans and horses that really have built up over thousands of years. From the very first moment that we were connected with horses, that we saw horses as a human being, they have become fundamental in our own evolution. And if you think about it, America wouldn't be America without the horse. I think that's really key because of how they work with their energy, how they work with their intention, and what that effect has on us. And the evolution of that dialogue, I think, is hugely important, certainly in the environment we inhabit in the horse-human world. It was the horses arriving in America that created movement, that created the farming, that created the disputes. So the whole of society's evolution, and if you think of, America being the superpower, it's all on the back of horses, And I think that is really interesting. And I think it's key to understand how we relate to horses today and how we can create that partnership that we really understand, that is rooted in that trust and mutual understanding. So we've gone from tool to a phase which most people are in, of this shift, this mindset shift to a small but significant army, you, me, those of us that are really about to revolutionize. I know it sounds big and it sounds a little egotistical, but I'm not talking about me as an individual. I'm talking about what we present, what we represent. So let's just talk about the early human-horse relationship. So our relationship with horses started in the most primal way. So humans hunted them for survival. And horses being prey animals and humans being predators, they relied on agility and intelligence. We relied on agility and intelligence to catch them. They relied on agility and intelligence to get away from us. So if you imagine that we are having the same conversation with different end results, but we are sharing the energy, even right back then, we're still sharing the energy of a conversation that we're having together. Yeah, then there was a change, and humans began to see horses as things that they could use, they could utilize. whether it be for transport, whether it be for farming. There was this shift in the need for a horse that was beyond food. And true domestication was around 3,500 BC. And this is where the predator-prey dynamic started to shift. We learned how to harness the power of the horse and use it to our advantage. And I think this is where the roots of what some of the negative dialogues that we have today continue, because they were our tools. They were there to serve us. They were there as our for our advantage. And I think that has a parallel with how some people treat some people in our society. What was the really key moment for our horse-human relationship was the mutual need for survival. So we needed a horse to work, therefore we survived. We needed the horse for battle, so we could survive. We needed the horse for exploration, so we could find new land, so we could find new pastures, so we could find new farming, and that helped us survive. So this mutual reliance created a bond driven by necessity, and that necessity in turn created a more trusting relationship that became more familial, as opposed to just purely a tool to be used. So this early relationship between horses and humans, I think survival and utility were the two dynamics, a dual dynamic, that created our first conversation with them. It sort of laid the groundwork for that step into a deeper, more mutual beneficial dialogue. And it's when they started to evolve from being purely prey, so purely food, to something that we could create a more trusting collaboration with. So just the role of domestication and horses as tools for survival. So just as a recap, our partnership was built on utility. So initially, the horse-human relationship was about what we can do. It's all about doing, and what the horse could do for the human, whether that, like I say, was pulling carts or carrying riders. It was all about using the strength of the horse for our own advantage. But even that relationship, right from the beginning, and I specifically picked up this photo, this artwork of a Native American, because as much as they equally used the horses in their lives, they had a status within the tribe as being part of the herd, and they knew that whatever the horse gave was a gift. So it moved that mindset of just for use and mutual benefit. So of course the horse got food, the horse got shelter, the horse got some protection from other predators. And what the human in this instance got was transport, speed, ability to find new areas to live. So it became, this is where it starts to get plant these seeds of partnership. And I think there's a lot of romantic stories about Native Americans. There's also a lot of cruelty and a lot of it's not rose-colored tinted glasses. There's a lot that went on that was not right. But I think fundamentally they had an idea of the mutuality, like what they give and what we have to balance it and give them back. And I think that is something that would be a good lesson for us all to learn. When we took over, and I say we as in Westerners, because we had come from a point of use, the shift towards control and dominance was really the early focus of any horsemanship. I think it became part of the insecurity, the fact that we don't understand. And when we don't understand, we want to take control. And when we don't understand, we want to have power over as opposed to power with. And then there is the ego of the Western mentality, which is all about taming the wild horse, controlling the wild horse. And no matter what, we use that fear and we use that pain to be able to have power over. Even though early training was all about force versus communication, there were glimpses of things changing, and certain, when particularly again when certain elements, certain parts of the population, of the Western population, saw what the Native Americans were doing with their horses and how they communicated with their horses, I think that was a key of some shifting of the dynamic and the mindset that we had. And this idea that domestication could give rise to a partnership that started out in utility, but after introducing control, having that shift between pure control and pure utility into family members and our softness. I think once we do that, we can understand and can see how history starts to shift towards a more trusting and communicative way of being with our horses. So, a shift in perspective, the evolution to partnership. So in the 20th century, horses moved from work, from being tools, transportation, and that is when we moved into companionship. Because obviously with the Industrial Revolution, we didn't need horses as we needed them. Once we've started seeing the horse as a being, then we started understanding that there was a need for trust and mutual awareness. And this is where our approaches now come in. That we talked a lot, we do talk about Pirelli, and in a negative sense quite often, and I have to say quite rightly, but to get anywhere there is steps, there is blocks. Okay, somebody had to start. Now whether he lost his way because of finances, whatever, it's fine, but this is all about evolution. And I guarantee that in 10 years time I'll look back, or you'll look back and think, you know what, I'm glad I'm here and not still there. So I think we have to give credit to anybody that tried to make changes and built changes within the horse human dynamic. Okay. And just to reaffirm, the Rewild coaching program that we're building here is about reconnecting with natural instincts. So we're taking it one step further than up to now with all the human-centric kindness. We're now looking at what is nature telling us, what is the nature of the horse telling us, that we can quite blatantly still use to our advantage to make sure our relationship is a shared relationship with mutual benefits. Because as a human, you have the right to say, I desire to ride, I desire to do this, I desire to do that. And the horse has the right to say, yes, fine, but you need to understand how you can get there with my nature and not just impose on me your will, whether, no matter how kind it is. Well, one of the fundamental things of that is choice, giving a horse choice. And if you think about it, slightly off tangent, but I was having a conversation the other day. We punish the worst aspects of our society by taking away choice. We lock people up in tiny boxes. We regulate everything they do, from eating, from sleeping, from daytime, from getting out. We reduce all social interactions. And they're the worst of our society. And our horses we love, yet we do exactly the same. We put them in a stable, we regulate their food, we tell them who they can be with, who they can see, if they're lucky enough to have a companion. So we've got this parallel of treating the worst in society by removing all choices, and treating those that we love, our horses, and I don't deny for one moment we love our horses. Everybody loves their horse, yet they give them the same lack of choice as somebody that has murdered somebody, and it just blows my mind. So the transition between from workhorse to companion is all about having these shared instincts, all about understanding, is all about being aware of what we share and what is our differences. Because if we can understand what we share, we can have empathy. But empathy only takes you so far, because we have shared experiences, and then we get understanding of the differences. And the key of the understanding of the differences is action. So we have empathy, we can share our experiences, and we can work with that we share. When we have understanding of the differences, brilliant. But the understanding of the differences is limited if you do not act on it. You don't act on the understanding of the differences, if that makes sense. So here we have shared instincts and mutual growth, because this is where growth happens. Horses, and I think actually to a certain extent humans as well, but horses particularly, are wired for trust. They're wired to have safety in the environment they're in. They have to trust the environment, they have to trust their herd mates, because they understand if there's anything that's not trustworthy, their survival is at risk. Their survival depends on forming strong bonds. So it goes to the ability to share a strong bond with us as their human has to be possible, because that is what they crave. To get that, though, we need to show them that we are reliable, that we are patient, that we are consistent, that we have an ability to root ourselves in nature and root ourselves in connection. Humans are collaborative beings. We want to, it might seem a little bit hidden in today's world, but fundamentally we are also wired for connection. Our instinct to nurture and to collaborate is what creates meaningful relationships. And this means that not just with people, but also with our animals. It is a powerful instinct. And I think one of the downsides of society today is that instinct of collaboration, that instinct of trust, that instinct of connection is almost frowned upon as something that is weak. I need my friends. I need my family. I need to feel supported. But when we say that out loud, it sounds vulnerable because it sounds like you can't cope on your own. We can because we've learned to do that. It's not in our nature to do that. So we need to find a space of shared awareness with our horses and shared awareness with the people in our lives. And when we align those instincts, this is when we create something extraordinary. It is a space where both horses and humans feel safe and seen. And this is when we start to grow. This is when natural growth without force or fear happens. And if we can understand, like I say, the shared instincts that form the foundation of our bonds, and if you put a human lens on that, when we have something in common with somebody, when we first meet them, when we suddenly have something in common, it's a much more natural flow of conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can understand what we share, we'll be less fearful of what we don't share. So now I think we should be thinking about breaking free from the historical patterns that we as a society, we as human beings have got ourselves in. So many of us have inherited training methods of dominance and control. We are influenced by so much these days, particularly with social media. So we inherit other people's perspectives. And unfortunately, most of that time it is about dominance and control. And those two words sound really heavy. But I think it's important to understand that even when we're trying to be, even if we're following a traditional path, it doesn't have to be that you're beating them up to still be dominant and controlling. And I think these patterns are so ingrained in some people and in the way that we approach things, that it frightens people to think that they can or should change. Change is difficult, and I get that. I get change is difficult, but the benefits of it outweigh the negative. But taking that step over the threshold is not easy. But if we really want to honor the horse's nature and build a relationship and build a dialogue based on that and actually achieve what we desire, because they're going to be more willing, we do need to step over that threshold. And to do that, we have to move beyond dominance. So we have to start thinking about shifting that mindset of, instead of asking, how do I make this horse do this? Shifting that to, how can we achieve this together? And this subtle change starts us thinking about, if I need to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do it in this way. Is that the way my horse would do it? Can I work with that? What is the differences? And it all goes back to understanding what we share and what we don't share, but just constantly shifting that question. How can I make him do this, to how can we do this together? It becomes a shared moment as opposed to something that is combative. And what does trust look like in your relationship? So I'd like you to, after this, in the next few days, start thinking about the relationship that you have with your horses and what you feel trust is within the conversations that you're having with them and the situation. You can only use the situation that you're in right now. Once you've identified how trust shows up, how they are reacting to that, it gives you another building block to use, another thing to, just another tool in your kit to say, okay, I know that this is when they feel safe. This is when they feel secure. And I'm not talking obviously only about physical. This is about having a mental and emotional security as well as being physical. The only way we're going to break free of this historical patterns of dominance and control is if we start to challenge them and create that relationship with ourselves, that because that's where trust starts. We have to trust ourselves before we can ask our horses to trust us. So now I just want to bring it back to you and your horse. Evolution is something that happens over a very long time, very slowly, but it's also about evolution in short periods of time that happens quickly. And what I mean by that is, so something about this conversation, I hope, will have a shift in you. That's evolution. So we can find evolution in everything that we do, because again, we talk about evolution and a lot of people think, oh yeah, but it takes so long. No, any change is evolution if it's for the better, or even, even if it's not for the better, once you see that it isn't for the better, then you can shift again. So there's three things I'd like you to think about. One is, where does your relationship fit in this journey of evolution? How I want you to reflect on the role of evolution that's had on you. And then, how has your horse shaped you? How has your horse encouraged, changed, created evolution in you? And the big one, because it's usually more difficult to get your head around, is how have you shaped your horse? How have you developed the evolution of your horse? And it can be physical, obviously mental, and obviously emotional. So this is a really deep reflection of your journey as a whole, how your horse has shaped you, and how you've shaped your horse. So the key takeaways of this little chat is, humans and horses have evolved together for thousands of years. Our early relationship was rooted in utility, but can now be based on partnership. And trust, awareness, and mutual instincts form the foundation of the Rewild coaching, and how I believe we will get that relationship that we're all looking for. I think we're all looking for. And I love this. The horse will carry you as far as your heart allows. And it is as simple as that. It really is. So that is my little chit chat today. I'm going to stop sharing.